Welcome to Founders Feature, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Zach Young, and in each episode, we're going to cover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Zac Palmer, the sales and persuasion strategist and co-founder and CEO of Exclusivity Agent Network, a national referral network and mastermind for top real estate agents building recession-proof businesses and wealth through collaborative investments. With over 150 million in personally generated sales, experience as VP of Sales at Clients on Demand, and as a head trainer for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi events. Zac now helps founders and CEOs to scale to 20 million plus by building high-performance sales teams, leadership, and profit-generating systems. Zac, a very warm welcome to Founders Feature.
Thanks, Zach. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great episode. We got a lot to dive into. Before we do, I do like to start with a little bit of background, though. So I touched on it briefly. Let's say before Exclusivity Agent Network. Can you tell us what were you doing previously, and what was really your inspiration for getting into this space?
Yeah, I got to go back to the beginning, to be honest. It's a bit of a journey. My business journey started out when I was 19 years old. I can't say like many, but I started out in college, was in for about a year and a half, and it was not my thing. And I reached out to my dad, said, I don't want to waste any more of your money. Could I take a little break? The intention was just to find a means to an end, and said, hey, can I come work with you for a little while? And we had a business in the fitness industry. It was a little specialty fitness store. He welcomed me in, and then about 6 months later, they had an opportunity to move back to Hawaii, where my mom was actually born and raised, and said, "Hey, do you think you could run the business?" And with no real formal business schooling or education, I said, "Sure." For some reason, I still reflect back on today, and I have no idea why. And that was the beginning of my business journey. The thing I didn't know at the time, Zach, was I was taking over a business that was only doing about $300,000 a year in gross revenue in a commodity-based industry, so pretty thin margins, and was over $800,000 in debt. It was a second business. It was really a passion project of my mom's, great write-off for my dad. But I had a pretty significant uphill battle at that stage, but managed to double the business year over year for the first 2 years. That was 2004 to 2006, moved and expanded 2007. And then, of course, 2008 happens. And I watched all that work, all that revenue go in half overnight, quite literally. But thankfully, that move and diversification ended up being the thing that actually carried us through those difficult times. One side of the business was declining, another one was growing dramatically. But I think a lot of this gray hair comes from the next 7 years, because it was nothing short of a struggle. But one of the things I always emphasize to anyone listening is the power of self-education and mentorship, because nobody does it alone. I remember struggling through those times. I still managed to build the business up to profitability, but I kept thinking there's got to be a better way. And I remember someone on this guy, Tony Robbins. He's got the big head, giant teeth. He's 7 feet tall. And I told my dad, yeah, I want to make an investment. I want to go to this conference. And my dad said, Zach, you're freaking crazy. You're not spending that kind of money going to a conference. Look what you've accomplished on your own. You're smart. You can figure this out. And I'm like, yeah, there's got to be. I know I could figure it out, but some part of me was like, no, I don't want to pay that dumb tax anymore. And I didn't tell him. I took a personal loan, went to the event, and I came back and continued to grow the business by 20 to 50% year over year, and continued to make additional investments in my education to fairly significant sums, because they've always paid back returns. But through that process, I was able to gift the business back to my parents. And through another series of events, I actually became a speaker and consultant for Tony and Dean at mastermind.com, was on stages with them, and some other names like Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozy, Stu McLaren, Dan Martell. The list goes on. You get surrounded by these really incredible people who are, the vast majority of the time, are also very humble and brilliant. One thing I love about them is what I saw on stage is also what I saw behind the scenes. But I also hit that pivotal point that many entrepreneurs run into. I'm like, this has been a blessing working side by side with my superheroes, but I also said I would never work with anybody else. So I made the decision to go back independent, leaned into what I'd spent so much time doing, which was sales, building and developing leadership professionals. And that really brought me here today. About a year ago, year and a half ago, I was running an event in Orlando, had a group of really outstanding professionals together, formed some great friendships, and connected with my friend and now partner, Nate. And he said, I got this idea. And I said, I think that's something I could contribute to at a really high level. So we've spent the last 9 months building out the Exclusivity Agent Network. And the whole premise, the whole idea was a lot of top agents, most agents get really myopic. They get very focused on their local markets and area. And what they don't realize, what most people don't realize, is that there's over 11 million people moving from state to state each year. So there's a huge amount of this transient deal flow that nobody's speaking to. That's a very underserviced market. So we said, how do we tap into that? How can we help support these buyers and the agents that are overlooking this massive flow of opportunities that are moving all the time? And ultimately, that's how exclusivity was formed. Now, you got to remember, Zach, I come from the Tony and Dean world. So I have ingrained in my mind add more value. And we started out with this monster of a business. We had all these different things that we wanted to build into, all these different elements, because we really wanted to over deliver. And at the same time, complexity is the enemy of execution. So we really ended up simplifying our focus to the two core elements, at least initially, being the referral aspect and the mastermind. The referrals, we're now placing one top real estate agent in each region across the United States, and not just numbers driven. We're really looking for core values in alignment with productivity. They've got to be people that are high integrity, that believe in the value of collaboration, that really thrive on excellence in the client experience, because a referral network dies on the experience that lives and dies on the experience that any of its members create, as well as how well they collaborate. So there's the referral aspect. And then we thought, if we're getting all these brilliant people in all these different markets from across the United States, it'd be pretty ignorant not to put a mastermind together and figure out how we could maximize that cumulative knowledge. So really, that's how exclusivity was born. We are in the early stages of launch. And initially, we were aiming for high speed. And then we realized, as we started speaking with a lot of people, we don't want to take anybody with a pulse and a credit card. So we've really abided by the adage, slow is fast, fast is smooth. We want to really focus on ensuring that the quality of the network is something that is not built for the short term, but something that's designed to thrive for a very long time. So that's just probably a bit longer of an answer than you anticipated, but that's a bit about the background.
You got it. You even dove into present day today, which we'll do it again in a second. But I just got to say, right, COVID started the Great Migration. It really allowed people to move to different states, things like that. And it's continuing. And it's even weird to say that COVID was almost 6 years ago today, but it's still happening. Still so many people relocating states for whatever reason. So this still makes a ton of sense. So you walked us through exclusivity agent network a little bit. Say exclusivity 10 times fast. I feel like that'd be really tough. I will jumble it a little bit at some point during this podcast. But so you talked a lot about obviously the quality of the network is essentially the most important part. So at this point, how have you guys been going about finding those real estate agents that really fit what you're looking for?
That's a fantastic question. And frankly, it's still a system that we're perfecting and dialing in. Largely, the number one medium, of course, we're using social media. I've got a variety of different campaigns and things running over social media, which is the slower aspect of it. But above all, the number one most important thing that we can leverage is the value of our relationships and referrals. So whether that's referrals from other friends that we know, predominantly JV partnerships have been one of the greatest strategic focuses. Who are other top real estate agent coaches in the network? Sometimes it's title agents and title coaches, heads of brokerages, and really aligning ourselves with these people who believe in seeing with the opportunity and are willing to point some of their top producers our way. And that has been by far the most effective because, as you can probably imagine, if we're trying to sift through random people, there's a lot of frogs you got to kiss. And on the other end of the spectrum, when it's a direct referral, it's a warmer introduction. It's a much smoother conversation. So referrals, hands down, have been the most effective way for us to grow so far. And of course, as the network grows itself, that starts to speed and compound. We're spooling up that flywheel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It seems like real estate agents, they always need more business, right? It's just like most people are always looking. So something
Mhm.
like this, it seems like a no-brainer for them. Am I right there?
Yeah, you would think so. It really largely depends on alignment. Some agents are like, hey, I only work with sellers. They're a listing agent and that's it. And then
Mhm.
some that are either diversified and have the team and see the opportunity and they're like, hey, I might be a seller, but I've got buyer's agents on my side that I can position these clients with and ensure that they're still going to deliver or be delivered an outstanding experience. So a lot of it depends on age and stage of growth. The reality is the majority of people that reach out are newer to the industry and the business and unfortunately just are not qualified in those same contexts because we have to have people with that tenure and strength and really have the ability to navigate all of the scenarios and complexities that come through real estate transactions. Anybody that purchases a home knows at this point it's not as simple as just going, hey, I like that one, and you walk in and are handed the keys, right? There's a lot of things you have to deal with between banking and title companies, and also ensuring that you end up in the right place. And it's like dating, just in completely different context. There's you get what you tolerate, and you don't want to end up in a home that is either purchasing outside of your means or something that you're just not going to be happy in. It's really critical that we are working alongside people that are leading with integrity and focusing on that client experience and helping ensure that people are making purchases that ultimately they're excited about, not just today, but years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complex process now, that is
Hmm.
for sure. So I
Yeah.
believe it was last year, and correct me if I'm wrong here. So when you guys were formulating the business, getting it started, when I believe it was a law or something was passed that kind of affected real estate agents' commissions and how much they can charge. Does that ring a bell at all?
Not for me. Hasn't
Not for
done
me.
anything to affect the network, to be honest.
Okay. Interesting. I thought there was something that came out maybe like a year and a half ago. I could be off, but that maybe affected the real estate agent space. But it sounds like you haven't really had any issues with that.
No, we haven't, frankly. And no, honestly, I am not a real estate agent. I'm not certified. What I took was my background in building businesses, developing people, and running very effective masterminds, and use that to really help formulate the foundation of the group and how we can build and add more value. So when it comes to any of the agent side of things, I lean into them for all of their knowledge and expertise and let them be the guide.
Got it. Hey, that makes sense. Absolutely. Let's focus on the mastermind for a second. Can you walk us through that? Kind of how do you guys structure that for the agents?
Yeah, it's an evolution. We actually have, as essentially, because we actually just launched formally over the last month and a half or two in terms of enrolling new members. So we're in early growth stages, startup stages, and we have our very first active mastermind tomorrow. There's still plans in development. That will be an evolving process, but initially it's going to be a lot of welcome framing about what we've accomplished, the integrity of the group, opening introductions, like getting other members to know each other, who's there, why they're there, what they're excited to be a part of, and overall what they're looking to accomplish. And then ultimately, we plan to leverage the cumulative intelligence of the group on a more consistent basis. And because we are bringing in top agents from all across the region and different markets, as you can probably imagine, they have different niches, specializations, and skill sets, different strategies that have worked for them to grow to the levels of significance that they have. So what we will be doing is combining elements of teaching, selecting specific agents to actually come in and do 10, 15, 20-minute educational presentations on some of the tools, techniques, excuse me, strategies and exercises that have really been paramount in their growth and success. And then at the same time, creating these small micro roundtables of within the mass of the group, break them into smaller groups, and going into simple problem solving mode. What's one thing that you're struggling with right now, and allowing that small pocket of individuals to help that person overcome those challenges. But the biggest thing is it's how do we leverage the cumulative intelligence of all of this wisdom in one room?
Yeah. I had to assume you've been in a good amount of masterminds yourself. So
Just a
I'm
few.
guessing
Yeah.
just a few. So I'm guessing you've taken your favorites from your favorite masterminds and applied them to your mastermind. Am I right there?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the simple reality is it's like what's the saying, like the best laid plans, right? Like I go in with a formula and structure, but then I think what the most effective mastermind leaders can do is really adapt to the evolving dynamics of the team in the room and be very mindful and aware of what they are looking to accomplish, what brings value to their lives, and constantly be amending those processes so that we are under promising and over delivering.
Yeah, very important. When it comes to those breakout groups that you mentioned, right? When it comes time for problem solving, what have you found from your experience is going to be the right number of people to have in those breakout rooms to keep the intimacy, but also to have no, obviously knowledge flowing as well?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question because it's so much time dependent. One thing you can guarantee with real estate agents, and one of the big problems that we were solving for is what they do not have a lot of is time. Most agents are on the clock early in the morning, top agents early in the morning to late at night. They're working weekends. So what we could not create is something where it felt like just another thing that they needed to do. So when we're looking at a 1 hour mastermind once a month, that is one of the exact problems that we were having to solve for. And when you ask about how do you create a really dynamic mastermind experience and maintain that balance of intimacy and effectiveness, the sweet spot, I believe, tends to be a small group of about 6 to 10, maybe on the latter end of the spectrum. Probably 6 to 8 is the real sweet spot where you have time for people to be thoughtful, present a problem, present their solutions, but also stay on track and be able to navigate a relatively short window. But sometimes, I mean, Is it Parkinson's law? I think it's Parkinson's law. The amount of time that we allot to solve any given problem or create any given outcome is the amount of time that we will actually take to do it. You give yourself a week for a project, it'll take you a week. You give yourself a day, it'll take a day. So there's a lot of value in keeping things concise because people have to be more thoughtful and deliberate.
I like that. Let's see. Quality versus quantity in that aspect. Absolutely.
Yes.
I like that. It's very intimate, right? People, you got 30 people in there versus 6. Some people may be more willing to share, open up about their true struggles because it can be hard to open up about what you're struggling with in front of a decent amount of people.
And that's where it's got to start from the top too. Vulnerability is a superpower. That's something I learned a long time ago alongside Tony and Dean because they are masters of leadership when it comes to really not only engaging but leading audiences. And it starts with you. So when you lead with that vulnerability, it creates a space where people feel that they have the ability to be willing and actually start sharing and talking about some of those challenges. And here's the truth and reality. Everybody's got problems. If you're in business, you've got problems. The only people that don't have problems are in the graveyard. So if you got problems, they're a sign of life. We just want to maximize the quality of those problems. It's a better quality problem is which car am I going to drive to work today?
Yeah, not problems at the end of the day. And also not a bad group of people to be learning from. Absolutely.
Yeah, not
Zac,
at all.
where's the best place for the listeners to find you, connect with you online?
Frankly, they can connect with me on Instagram. I'm at the Zac Palmer, TheZacPalmer. LinkedIn is probably one of the places that I'm most active, of course, in the business community. You can find me on my website, thezacpalmer.com. Any one of those places is a fantastic place to reach out.
Perfect. Zac, pleasure having you on, my friend. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Zac. Appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And that will wrap up another inspiring episode of The Founder's Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go and connect with Zac on all of his social media. All of his links will be in the show notes and description down below. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're looking to scale your business, and you really want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.